have ever wondered why, among so many names that echo through the centuries, one was deliberately silenced. Why a woman who walked beside the Master, who was present in the most sacred moments, who was the first to witness the impossible, was reduced to a footnote, a shadow, an embarrassed whisper in the margins of official history. Isn't it curious that precisely the one who received the deepest teachings was harassed, diminished, transformed into something she never was? Take a deep breath now. Allow yourself to question what you've always accepted as truth. Because what you're about to discover is not a new story. It's an ancient memory buried under layers of purposeful forgetting, patiently awaiting the moment when you would be ready to remember. Mary Magdalene. You know this name, but do you really know it? Or do you only know the permitted version, the controlled narrative, the distorted image that served purposes having nothing to do with truth? For centuries, they told you a story. They told you who she was, what she did, why she didn't matter as much as the others. They painted her in dark colors, covered her light with judgments, buried her gospels, burned her teachings, silenced her voice. And they did it so well, so completely, that you grew up believing she was merely a secondary figure, a minor character in the great theater of the sacred. But what if all of this was a lie? What if every word you heard about her had been carefully chosen to distance you from the most dangerous truth of all? The truth that she was equal, that she knew, that she taught, that she was loved, respected, chosen. There is a gospel. It's not on church shelves. It's not read on Sundays. It wasn't included in the books you know as sacred. This gospel was hidden because it revealed too much, because it showed a woman not as a silent follower, but as a beloved disciple, as a bearer of mysteries, as one who understood what others couldn't yet grasp. The gospel of Mary Magdalene exists. It was found. It was translated. And what it reveals is revolutionary not because it invents something new, but because it restores something ancient. The truth that she was there, at the center, not on the margins, that she listened, that she understood, that she received revelations, that she was trustworthy, that she was wise, that she was, in every sense that matters, equal. Do you feel it? That a small inner tremor, that sensation of recognition? It's not surprise, it's memory. Because somewhere deep within you, beyond doctrines and dogmas, beyond what was taught and repeated, you always knew there was more. You always felt her absence, even when you couldn't name what was missing. As if there were an empty space in the narrative, a silence where there should be voice, a shadow where there should be light. When the Master taught, she was present. When he spoke in parables that confused others, she understood. When he shared the deepest mysteries of the inner kingdom, she listened with an open heart and clear mind. The other disciples, those whose names you know so well, often didn't understand. They argued, they questioned, they felt jealous. Yes, jealous, because they saw that she had something they were still seeking, not blind faith, but living understanding, not external devotion, but inner transformation. She didn't just follow the path, she was the path being lived. And when everything collapsed, when the impossible happened and the world seemed to end, when the others fled in fear, hid in shadows, disappeared into doubt, she remained, she stayed. She went to the tomb not out of obligation, but out of love. And it was there, in that moment of absolute darkness, in that moment when everything seemed lost, that she became the first witness of the impossible. The first to see, the first to know, the first to be sent with the most important message in human history. Think about that for a moment. Breathe. Allow the magnitude of this to penetrate. In an era when a woman's testimony was worthless in courts, when her word was discarded, when she was considered property and not person, it was to a woman that the greatest mystery was revealed first. It was she who was chosen. It was she who was trusted. It was she who was sent. This was not accident, not coincidence. It was deliberate choice. It was recognition. It was honor. But you didn't hear much about that, did you? You heard about Peter, about John, about Paul, who never even walked with the Master while he lived. You heard about all the men, their visions, their letters, their authorities. But the woman who was closest, who understood most deeply, who was chosen first, she was erased, not completely, because that would be too obvious, but subtly, strategically. They transformed her into someone else. They confused her with other women. They attributed to her a story that was never hers. They made her a symbol of sin when she was a symbol of wisdom. They made her a repentant prostitute when she was an enlightened master. Why? Have you ever asked why? Because her gospel was dangerous. Because her teachings challenged power structures. Because if people knew that a woman had been an equal disciple, who had received revelations, who had understood mysteries, who had been loved and respected and honored, then the entire hierarchy built on the exclusion of women would collapse. The entire structure that said they couldn't teach, couldn't lead, couldn't be trusted with the sacred would be revealed as a lie, as human invention, as betrayal of the very teaching they claimed to protect. So they hid her gospel. Literal, they buried it in the Egyptian sand. They hoped it would never be found. But it was, in 1896, a fragment. Later, more pages. Damaged by time, with gaps, but readably. And what do these pages say? They show Mary Magdalene receiving a vision. She tells the other disciples what the Master revealed to her in private. She teaches about the nature of the soul, about the journey beyond the body, about how consciousness traverses the realms. And how do the others react? Peter, specifically, becomes furious. He questions whether the Master would really speak to a woman about things he didn't share with them. He asks if they should believe her, if she's telling the truth. And Levi, whom you know as Matthew, defends her. He says to Peter, if the Savior considered her worthy, who are you to reject her? Surely the Savior knows her very well. That is why he loves her more than us. More than us. Taz's words are there, preserved through the centuries, witnessing a truth they tried to erase. She was not less, she was more, not in hierarchy, but in understanding, not in power, but in perception, not because she was better as a person, but because she was more open, because she understood that teaching wasn't about controlling others, but about transforming oneself. Are you beginning to see? Are you beginning to feel how this story was manipulated? How each generation received an edited, censored, safe version, a version that didn't threaten the status quo, didn't challenge power, didn't question exclusion. But truth cannot be buried forever. Truth is a seed. You can cover it with earth, hide it in darkness, hope it dies. But seeds were made for darkness. They grow there, and when the moment is right, when the inner spring comes, they break through the surface, they sprout, they bloom. And now that you know there's more, now that you've seen the edge of this greater truth, what do? You can return to what you knew, pretend you didn't see, close your eyes again, or you can breathe, open yourself, allow the seed of truth to germinate within you, not as a new belief to replace the old, but as an invitation to question, to investigate, to feel for yourself what is true. Because, you see, this was never really about Mary Magdalene as a historical person. This was always about what she represents. She represents the part of you that was silenced, the inner wisdom you were taught to distrust, the intuitive voice you were trained to ignore. She represents the possibility that you, exactly as you are worthy of receiving mysteries, of understanding truths, of being loved by the divine, not despite what you are, but because of what you are. How many times have you believed you needed to be different to be accepted by the sacred? How many times were you told you weren't poor enough, good enough, good enough? How many times were you taught there were necessary intermediaries, special people who could reach what you couldn't, who had access to what you would never have? Mary Magdalene's story destroys all of that, because if a woman in a society that didn't value women, if someone who was deliberately slandered and diminished, if she could be beloved disciple, master of mysteries, first witness of the impossible, then you can too, then anyone can. There is no hierarchy in the heart of the divine. There are no exclusions. In the inner chamber of truth, there is only openness or closure. There is only openness or closure. There is only courage to question or comfort of conformity. So breathe now, breathe deeply. Feel the air entering through your nose, descending to your chest, expanding your lungs. Feel it leaving, taking with it what no longer serves. Each breath is a reminder. You are alive. You are conscious. You are here, in this moment, capable of choosing what you believe, what you accept, what you question. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place, or keep them gently focused ahead. Imagine a garden, not any garden, but that garden, the place where she went at dawn, her heart heavy with mourning, her eyes red from crying. She went expecting to find a body. She went expecting only to be near what she had lost. But what she found changed everything, not just for her, for everyone who would come after, including you. You're in that garden now, in your imagination, in your spiritual memory. The air is fresh with morning dew. There's a fragrance of wet earth, of flowers beginning to open with the first light. The sky is changing from indigo to pale blue, with the streaks of gold on the horizon. You walk slowly among the trees, feet bare on the cold grass. There's a quietness here, a silence that isn't empty, but full of possibility, of expectation, of something about to be revealed. You arrive at the place, at the tomb, at the cave, in the rock, and it's open. It shouldn't be open. Your heart races. You approach, look inside, empty. The impossible has happened. What you came looking for is not where it should be. And in the shock of this absence, in this rupture of all expectation, you hear a voice behind you. Why do you seek among the dead what is alive? You turn, there's someone there. At first you don't recognize. The light is behind him, dazzling your eyes. It looks like a gardener, someone ordinary, someone who belongs to this place. But there's something in his eyes, something you know, something you've always known. It says your name, and with that word, everything opens. You remember, not with the mind, but with something deeper, with the soul. You remember that this has happened before, that you've been here before, that this is not the first time you've gone from mourning to recognition, from darkness to light, from death to light, from death to light. You don't ask how, you don't demand proof, you just know. And in that knowing, you are transformed. It's not what's outside you that change. It's you, your perception, your understanding, your awareness that what you thought was lost could never be lost, that what you thought was separate was never separate, that the love you sought outside was always within. Open your eyes slowly. Return to this moment, to this place. But bring with you what you just felt, because this is not just her story, it's your story too. You are the one who goes to the garden. You are the one who searches. You are the one who weeps, and you are the one who weeps, and you are the one who finds. You are the one who hears your name being called. You are the one who recognizes. You are the one who transforms. Mary Magdalene was not just a witness. She was a mirror. She reflected what was possible for everyone. To see beyond appearance, to understand beyond the obvious, to love beyond loss, to trust beyond doubt. She taught not through sermons, but through presence, not through imposed authority, but through lived wisdom. She didn't say, believe me. She said, see for yourself. And this is what is being asked of you now. Not that you blindly believe a new narrative, but that you look, that you question, that you investigate, that you allow your own inner wisdom, that wisdom that was silenced as much as her voice, to speak again. Because you have direct access to the divine. You always have. Not through intermediaries, not through hierarchies, not through permission from others, but through the quietness of your own heart, through the openness of your own consciousness, through the courage of your own search. She knew this. This is what she taught. This is why they feared her. This is why they silenced her. Because someone who knows the kingdom is within cannot be controlled. Someone who understands the sacred is directly accessible, doesn't need gatekeepers. Someone who recognizes their own spiritual dignity doesn't accept being diminished. And now you know too. You may not have all the answers. You may still have doubts. But you know there's more. You know the story they told you was incomplete. You know there are hidden gospels, buried truths, silenced voices waiting to be heard again. And most importantly, you know the search is not sacrilegious, it's not dangerous, it's not wrong, it's sacred, it's necessary, it's the very path. Because true faith doesn't fear questions. True faith impedes investigation. True faith strengthens in the light of truth, doesn't weaken. And if something cannot withstand questioning, examination, the light of day, then perhaps it was never true to begin with. Perhaps it was only control disguised as devotion, power disguised as piety, prayer disguised as faith. Breathe again, slowly, deeply. Feel how each breath is an act of freedom, how each moment of consciousness is an act of rebellion against everything that wants you to remain asleep. How each question you ask is a step toward your own spiritual authority. Mary Magdalene doesn't need you to defend her. She doesn't need you to rebuild her reputation. She doesn't need you to rebuild her reputation. Doesn't need anything from you. But you need her. You need what she represents. You need the reminder that your voice matters. That your direct experience of the sacred is as real, as true, as valuable as any other, and when you recognize this in yourself, you automatically recognize it in others. You see that everyone is worthy, that everyone is worthy, that everyone has access, that everyone carries light. There's no more a hierarchy of spirituality. There's no more insiders and outsiders. There's no more those who know and those who don't know. There's who don't know. There are only those who remember and those still forgetting. There are only those who awakened and those still dreaming. And even this distinction is temporary, because everyone eventually remembers. Everyone eventually wins. It's only a matter of when, not if. You're remembering now, in this moment, as you read these words, as you feel this inner resonance, this recognition, this sensation of, yes, he always knew this, You remembering that you were never less, that you were never inferior, that you were never insufficient, that everything you needed was always within you, patiently awaiting to be recognized. This is the true gospel, not a lost book, though those books are precious. Not a hidden story, though those stories need to be told. The true gospel is this living truth within you, that you are loved, that you are capable, that you are enough, that you are sacred, exactly as you are, in this moment, without needing to change anything, fix anything, improve anything. Transformation is not a prerequisite for acceptance. Transformation is the result of recognition you're already accepted. Mary Magdalene saw this, lived this, taught this, and was silenced for it. But silence doesn't last forever. Truth is patient. It waits in shadows, in deserts, in caves, in the hearts of those still willing to search. And when you find it after searching so long, you realize it wasn't lost. You were. And it was always there, awaiting your return. So return now. Return to your own wisdom. Return to your own authority. Return to your own inner knowing. Don't reject what you learned. Don't discard what you were taught, but add to it. Expand, question, investigate. Allow your faith to be large enough to include doubt. Allow your certainty to be flexible enough to include mystery. Allow your heart to be courageous enough to follow truth wherever it leads, even if it's to places you never expected to go. This is the path she walked. This is the path she still walks, through all those who have the courage to see what was hidden, hear what was silenced, honor what was despised. You are part of that lineage now. You carry that torch, not because you're special, but because you're willing, not because you're better than others, but because you're open, not because you have all the answers, but because you're willing to ask the questions. And when you do this, when you really do this, something extraordinary happens. You become free, free from the need for absolute certainty, free from the need to have all the answers, free from the need to prove you right, free from the need to make others wrong. You simply are, simply are, simply seek, simply love, simply remain present with mystery. And in that presence, in that openness, in that courage, you find what she found in that garden at dawn. Not a resurrected body, though this part of the story, but something even deeper. You find that love doesn't die, that truth cannot be buried, that light cannot be extinguished, that you, at your most essential core, are indestructible, eternal, infinite. This was always the teaching. This was always the mystery. This was always the gospel, not good news about something outside you, but good news about what you truly are. And Mary Magdalene understood this so completely, so deeply, so totally, that they had no choice but to try to erase her name from history. Because if people knew a woman had understood this, then perhaps everyone could understand. And if everyone understood, then no one could be controlled. No one could be manipulated. No one could be kept small, frightened, dependent. But the time of revelation has come, not because the heavens opened, not because some prophecy was fulfilled, but because you are here, because you are reading, because you are questioning, because you are willing to see. And when a heart opens, when a mind expands, when a soul awakens, all reality transforms, not out there, in here, and from within, the transformation radiates, touching others, inspiring others, freeing others. You don't need to preach, you don't need to convert, you don't need to convert, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. You only need to live from this truth, live from this knowing, live from this remembering. and your life becomes the gospel. Your presence becomes the teaching. Your being becomes the message. This is her legacy, not her words, though her words are precious. Not her story, though her story needs to be known, but her example of being present with truth, of remaining faithful to what one knows, of trusting inner wisdom even when everyone else says you're wrong, of loving even when all seems lost. You can do this. You are doing this in this moment, breathing, feeling, knowing, not perfectly. No one does this perfectly, but authentically, courageously, truly. And if this text found you, if these words resonated in you, if this story touched something deep within you, then it was not accident, it was calling, it was recognition, it was remembering. And now you have a choice. You can keep this to yourself, or you can allow this light to radiate through you, touching others who are also ready to remember, who are also ready to awaken, who are also ready to see what was always there. Don't force, don't preach, don't demand that others see what you see, but be present, be open, be available. And when someone asks why there's light in your eyes, why there's peace in your heart, why there's freedom in your spirit, you can tell your story, you can share your journey, you can whisper the name that was silenced for so long, Mary Magdalene, beloved disciple, apostle to the apostles, bearer of mysteries, witness to resurrection, master of truths, mirror of your own wisdom, bearer of the torch you now carry. Breathe one last time, deeply, completely. Let this breath seal this revelation within you. Let this moment mark your heart. Let this truth transform your journey. You are not lost. You are being found. You are being found. You are not alone. You are being accompanied. You are not without purpose. You are fulfilling your purpose simply by being yourself, simply by seeking truth, simply by remaining open to mystery. And this is enough. This always was enough. This always will be enough. If this message found you, let your light guide others. Share this so someone else can remember. Not with noise, but with gentleness. Not with force, but with invitation. Not with certainty, but with possibility. Because each heart that awakens illuminates the path for others. Each soul that remembers makes it easier for the next to remember. Each voice that rises makes it harder to maintain silence. You are part of this awakening. You are part of this revelation. You are part of this living gospel that continues being written through each person who chooses truth over comfort, freedom over conformity, love over fear. Welcome to the garden. Welcome to the light. Welcome home.